The most dangerous moment in a woman's life is not when people reject her. It is when she begins to reject herself just to gain acceptance. That is how confidence disappears. That is how identity becomes dependent on applause. And that is why so many women spend years trying to become acceptable instead of becoming unforgettable. A truly valuable woman understands something early that most people learn too late. The world changes its standards every season. One day they praise confidence, the next day they call it intimidating. One day they admire independence, the next day they demand obedience. If a woman builds her identity around public approval, she will spend her entire life shifting for people who were never satisfied to begin with. But the woman who knows her worth walks differently. She enters rooms without needing permission to belong there. Not because she believes she is better than everyone else, but because she no longer needs strangers to define her value. That inner certainty changes everything. It changes the way she speaks, the way she carries herself, and the way people respond to her presence. Most people think worth is something earned through beauty, status, relationships, or attention. But attention is temporary. Validation is temporary. Popularity is temporary. The problem with building your confidence on temporary things is that your confidence disappears the moment those things disappear. A valuable woman builds her worth on something deeper. She builds it on standards. She builds it on discipline. She builds it on the promises she keeps to herself when nobody is watching. Because self-respect is not created by compliments. It is created by consistency. You can see it in the way she handles disappointment. She does not collapse every time life becomes difficult. She adjusts. She learns. She grows stronger. Pain does not define her identity because she understands that hard seasons are not evidence of weakness. They are proof of the transformation, and this is where most people fail. They wait for the world to tell them they are enough before they begin acting like they matter. They wait for approval before they speak confidently. They wait for recognition before they believe in themselves. They wait for permission to become powerful, but confidence does not arrive after acceptance. Confidence is what comes before it. The women who command respect are not always the loudest in the room. Often they are the calmest. They know who they are. They know what they tolerate. They know what they bring into every environment. That certainty creates presence, and presence cannot be faked. A truly valuable woman also understands the difference between attention and respect. Attention can be gained in seconds. Respect is built over time. Attention focuses on appearance. Respect focuses on character. One fades quickly. The other becomes unforgettable. That is why she invests more into her mind than into impressing people. He understands that elegance without intelligence is fragile. Beauty without self-control is temporary. But wisdom, emotional strength, and self-awareness create influence that lasts for years. She stops begging to be chosen because she realizes something powerful. The moment a woman discovers her worth, she also discovers her standards. And standards naturally remove people who only valued her when she doubted herself. Not everyone will understand her transformation. Some people benefited from her insecurity. Some people felt comfortable when she stayed small. Growth threatens people who relied on your silence. But a valuable woman no longer shrinks herself just to make others comfortable. She chooses herself without guilt. She protects her peace without apology. She walks away from environments that destroy her spirit. And the moment she fully understands her worth, she stops chasing temporary validation because she finally realizes she was valuable long before the world noticed it. Motivation is powerful in the beginning, but discipline is what changes a woman's life when the excitement disappears. Anyone can feel inspired for a moment. Anyone can start strong when emotions are high and the vision feels exciting. But the real difference between average and exceptional is revealed on the days when energy is low, results are invisible, and nobody is cheering. That is where discipline becomes the true test of character. A truly valuable woman does not build her future around temporary feelings. She understands that emotions are unpredictable. Some mornings confidence is high. Other mornings doubt is louder than ambition. If she only moved when she felt motivated, her life would constantly remain unfinished. Goals would stay incomplete. Promises to herself would be broken. Potential would slowly descend. Ear under the weight of inconsistency. Discipline changes that. Discipline teaches her to move even when comfort tells her to stop. It teaches her to stay committed after the excitement fades. And over time, that consistency creates something far more powerful than motivation ever could. It creates trust within herself. Most people underestimate the importance of self-trust. They think confidence comes from compliments, success, or external recognition. But real confidence is built differently. It comes from knowing that no matter how difficult life becomes, you will still show up for yourself. You will still keep your standards. You will still continue the work even when nobody notices your effort. That kind of confidence cannot be borrowed from the outside world. A disciplined woman understands that small actions repeated daily become life-changing over time. One workout may not transform the body. One book may not transform the mind. One difficult decision may not transform the future. But repeated consistently, those actions completely reshape identity. And this is what separates valuable women from distracted women. Distracted women chase quick results. Valuable women focus on daily habits, because habits decide direction, and direction eventually decides destiny. The world often glorifies talent and natural ability, but discipline quietly defeats both. Talent without consistency eventually fades. Potential without action becomes regret. Intelligence without execution remains invisible. Discipline is what turns ideas into reality. There will always be moments when quitting feels easier, moments when progress seems slow, moments when comparison creates frustration. But discipline allows a woman to continue growing without needing constant emotional rewards. She learns to trust the process even when the results have not arrived yet. That mindset becomes dangerous in the best possible way, because once a woman masters herself, life can no longer easily control her. She stops becoming a prisoner of laziness, fear, and excuses. She develops emotional strength. She becomes reliable. Focus. While others constantly restart their lives every few weeks, she keeps building steadily. Discipline also protects her from chaos. It teaches her boundaries. It teaches her how to manage time, energy, and priorities. Without discipline, distractions take over. Temporary pleasures begin replacing meaningful progress. A woman can lose years of her life chasing comfort while silently abandoning her potential, but discipline forces honesty. It reveals whether someone truly wants growth or simply enjoys talking about it. And perhaps the most powerful thing discipline creates is freedom. Most people think discipline is restrictive, but the opposite is true. Lack of discipline creates stress, regret, and instability. Discipline creates options. Financial freedom comes from disciplined habits. Emotional peace comes from disciplined thinking. Physical strength comes from disciplined choices. Confidence comes from disciplined actions repeated over time. A valuable woman understands this deeply. She no longer waits for the perfect mood before taking action. She stops negotiating with procrastination. She realizes that her future is not shaped by occasional bursts of inspiration, but by what she repeatedly does every single day. That is why she keeps moving when motivation disappears. Because she knows feelings change, circumstances change, and people change. But disciplined habits continue building a powerful future long after temporary emotions fade away. A truly valuable woman understands something that many people discover too late. Peace is not a luxury, it is a necessity. Without peace, success feels empty. Relationships become exhausting. Even beautiful moments lose their meaning. That is why she protects her energy with intention, because she knows the quality of her life will always be connected to the quality of what surrounds her mind, heart, and spirit. Most people only protect their time. Few people protect their energy. And that mistake quietly destroys them from the inside. They stay connected to draining conversations, toxic environments, negative people, and constant chaos until they no longer recognize themselves. Their confidence weakens. Their focus disappears. Their emotional stability slowly collapses under pressure they were never meant to carry every day. But a valuable woman pays attention to how people make her feel. She notices what strengthens her and what slowly steals her peace. She understands that energy is contagious. The wrong environment can make a confident woman begin doubting herself. The wrong relationship can make a peaceful woman constantly anxious. The wrong circle can make an ambitious woman shrink her dreams just to fit in. That is why she becomes selective, not cold, not arrogant. Selective. She no longer gives unlimited access to people who constantly bring confusion into her life. She stops explaining herself to individuals committed to misunderstanding her. She stops entertaining drama that adds nothing to her future. Because maturity teaches her that every argument does not deserve her response, and every opinion does not deserve space in her mind. There is power in emotional discipline. Many people think strength means reacting loudly, proving a point, or winning every conflict. But real strength often looks quieter. It looks like self-control. It looks like walking away from unnecessary negativity. It looks like protecting your peace even when your ego wants revenge. A valuable woman understands that protecting her energy is not selfish. It is survival. Every day she is either feeding her mind with peace or poisoning it with stress. And eventually, whatever dominates her inner world begins shaping her outer world. Stress changes the way a person thinks. Chaos changes the way a person behaves. Constant negativity slowly reshapes identity. That is why peaceful women often appear more powerful than loud women. Their calmness is not weakness. It is control. It is wisdom. It is emotional maturity developed through experience. She also understands that peace requires boundaries. Without boundaries, people will continuously consume her time, attention, and emotional stability. Some people only arrive to take. They take energy, patience, kindness, and emotional effort while giving nothing healthy in return. And if she is not careful, she will spend her life emotionally exhausted trying to save people who refuse to save themselves. So she learns to say no without guilt. No to environments that destroy her mental clarity. No to relationships built on disrespect. No to constant negativity disguised as honesty. No to people who only value her when she sacrifices herself. Because peace grows when self-respect grows. A truly valuable woman also understands the importance of solitude. She no longer fears being alone because she realizes loneliness and peace are completely different things. Some people are surrounded by attention yet mentally exhausted every day. Others sit alone in silence and finally feel free. Silence becomes healing for her. It allows her to think clearly again, to reconnect with herself, to hear her own thoughts without the noise of everyone else's expectations. In those quiet moments, she rebuilds her strength, and perhaps the greatest transformation happens when she stops chasing external validation. Because once a woman no longer needs constant approval, criticism loses its power over her peace. She becomes emotionally grounded, stable, focused, difficult to manipulate. That energy changes everything around her. People begin respecting her boundaries differently. Her presence becomes calmer. Her decisions become wiser. Her relationships become healthier because she no longer tolerates what destroys her spirit. She realizes that life is too short to spend every day emotionally drained, constantly overwhelmed, and mentally restless. So she protects her peace fiercely because deep down she understands one powerful truth. The energy surrounding a woman eventually becomes the life she experiences every single day. Most people misunderstand confidence. They think confidence comes from compliments, attention, or the approval of others. They believe a woman becomes confident when enough people admire her, validate her, or tell her she is worthy. But attention can disappear overnight. Opinions change quickly. And if confidence is built on external validation, it becomes fragile the moment criticism appears. A truly valuable woman learns a different truth. Confidence is not something people give to her. Confidence is something she builds within herself through action, consistency, and courage repeated over time. That is why real confidence cannot be faked for long. A woman who depends on attention constantly needs reassurance. She needs reminders that she is beautiful enough, smart enough, important enough, desirable enough. Without external validation, insecurity quickly rises to the surface. Because when confidence is borrowed from other people also gain the power to take it away. But action creates a completely different type of confidence. Every time a woman keeps a promise to herself, she becomes stronger internally. Every difficult conversation she faces instead of avoiding builds emotional courage. Every goal she continues pursuing despite fear builds self-respect. Every challenge she survives quietly reminds her that she is more capable than she once believed. That is how authentic confidence is created. Not through applause, not through social media attention, not through temporary admiration, through evidence. A woman begins trusting herself because she has proof of her own resilience. She has seen herself survive painful moments. She has watched herself grow through discomfort. She has experienced failure without allowing it to define her identity. That lived experience creates unshakable belief. And this is why confident women move differently. They are not obsessed with proving their value every second. They are not constantly competing for validation. Their energy feels calmer because their identity is no longer controlled by public opinion. Most people spend years performing confidence instead of developing it. They post confidence, they speak about confidence, they try to appear powerful, but deep inside they still depend on attention to feel significant. A valuable woman understands that true confidence is private before it becomes visible. It is built in lonely moments nobody applauds. It is built when she continues improving herself without immediate rewards. It is built when she chooses discipline over excuses, growth over comfort, and standards over temporary pleasure. Action changes self-perception. The woman who exercises consistently begins respecting herself differently. The woman who educates herself daily begins speaking differently. The woman who walks away from unhealthy environments begins carrying herself differently. Confidence naturally grows when actions begin aligning with values. Because deep down, every person knows when they are betraying themselves. That internal conflict destroys confidence faster than criticism ever could. A woman cannot truly feel powerful while continuously abandoning her goals, tolerating disrespect, or ignoring her own potential. Confidence grows when behavior reflects self-respect. This is also why fear must be confronted, not avoided. Every time fear controls decisions, insecurity becomes stronger. But every time a woman acts despite fear, confidence expands. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is movement in spite of fear. And with every courageous decision, she teaches herself that discomfort is survivable. That realization becomes life-changing. She stops waiting to feel ready before taking action. She understands that readiness often comes after movement, not before. The woman who waits for perfect confidence before starting will remain trapped in hesitation forever. But the woman who starts while uncertain slowly transforms herself through experience. Even failure becomes valuable. Because failure handled correctly creates wisdom, resilience, and emotional strength. Women who avoid failure often avoid growth as well. But confident women understand that mistakes do not reduce their worth. They simply refine their character. Over time, something powerful begins happening. She no longer needs constant praise to believe in herself. She no longer feels destroyed by rejection. Criticism no longer controls her emotions because her confidence is no longer dependent on outside voices. It is rooted in action, in discipline, in consistency, in the promises she kept to herself when nobody was watching, and that kind of confidence becomes impossible to imitate because it was not built through attention from others. It was built through the quiet decisions that slowly transformed her into someone she could genuinely respect. Most people want success, but very few people want the discomfort that creates it. They admire strength, discipline, intelligence, confidence, and success in others, yet avoid the sacrifices required to build those qualities within themselves. That is why growth remains rare. Because growth demands change, and change always requires discomfort. A truly valuable woman understands this deeply. She knows that comfort can become dangerous when it slowly turns into stagnation. Staying where life feels easy may protect temporary emotions, but it also limits potential. And over time, the pain of staying the same becomes far heavier than the temporary pain of growth. That is why she chooses growth even when nobody is watching, not for applause, not for attention, not for recognition, for herself. Because real transformation happens in private long before the world notices it publicly. Anyone can appear disciplined when people are observing. Anyone can act ambitious when praise is guaranteed. But character is revealed in unseen moments. In the early mornings when exhaustion says sleep longer. In the lonely seasons when progress feels invisible. In the difficult decisions where comfort offers immediate pleasure but growth demands sacrifice. A valuable woman understands that those moments quietly shape her future. Every decision either strengthens her or weakens her. Every habit either builds discipline or feeds excuses. Every day she is becoming more of who she was meant to be or drifting further away from her potential. Most people choose comfort because comfort feels safe. It protects them from failure, criticism, rejection, and uncertainty. But comfort also protects them from growth. A woman cannot become stronger while constantly avoiding challenge. She cannot discover her capabilities while remaining trapped inside predictable routines. Growth requires courage. It requires entering unfamiliar environments, learning new skills, having uncomfortable conversations, walking away from unhealthy situations, letting go of old versions of herself that no longer align with who she is becoming. And none of those things feel comfortable in the beginning. That is why valuable women stop asking one important question. They stop asking what feels easiest right now. Instead, they begin asking, what will help me become stronger in the long run? That mindset changes everything, because temporary comfort often creates long-term regret. Laziness feels comfortable today, but painful later. Avoidance feels comfortable today, but destructive later. Settling feels comfortable today, but heartbreaking later. Many people sacrifice their future peace for present comfort without realizing the price they are paying. But a growth-focused woman sees beyond the moment. She understands that discipline today creates freedom tomorrow. Learning today creates confidence tomorrow. Sacrifice today creates opportunities tomorrow. She becomes willing to endure temporary discomfort because she sees the bigger picture. This is also why she continues improving herself, even when nobody notices her effort. She reads when nobody praises her intelligence. She works on her mindset when nobody understands her transformation. She keeps building herself during silent seasons because she knows lasting success is usually developed away from public attention. The world only celebrates results. It rarely sees the years of invisible work behind them. A valuable woman falls in love with the process instead of chasing constant validation. She understands that becoming exceptional is not built through occasional motivation. It is built through consistent choices repeated quietly over time. And perhaps the most powerful thing about growth is that it changes identity. The woman who once feared rejection becomes emotionally stronger after facing it. The woman who once doubted herself becomes confident after surviving difficult experiences. The woman who once avoided challenges becomes resilient after repeatedly overcoming them. Growth transforms more than circumstances. It transforms self-perception. That is why she no longer fears discomfort the way she once did. She realizes discomfort is often evidence of expansion. Muscles grow through resistance. Wisdom grows through struggle. Confidence grows through action outside familiar limits. While others remain trapped in routines that feel safe, she keeps evolving. She keeps learning. She keeps pushing herself beyond average expectations because she understands something powerful. Life does not reward comfort for long. Eventually, comfort becomes a prison disguised as safety. So she continues choosing growth privately before success ever becomes visible publicly. She keeps improving her habits, mindset, standards, and discipline even when nobody applauds the effort. Because deep down she knows the woman she becomes in unseen moments will eventually shape the life everyone else sees later. A powerful woman understands that words carry weight. They can build trust or destroy it. They can heal wounds or deepen them. They can inspire confidence or spread fear. That is why she does not speak carelessly. She chooses her words with intention because she understands that communication reveals character long before appearance ever does. Most people speak to impress. A valuable woman speaks to create meaning. There is a major difference between noise and influence. Loud people often demand attention, but wise people command respect without forcing it. A truly powerful woman does not feel the need to dominate every conversation just to prove her intelligence. She understands that constant talking is not a sign of confidence. Often it is a sign of insecurity searching for validation. Wisdom speaks differently. It pauses before reacting emotionally. It listens before judging quickly. It observes before forming conclusions. And because of that, her words carry depth instead of emptiness. One thoughtful sentence from a wise woman often carries more power than endless, meaningless conversations. Why? Because people remember words that come from clarity, emotional control, and truth. A powerful woman also understands the importance of listening. Most people listen only long enough to respond. They wait impatiently for their turn to speak. But listening with wisdom requires presence. It requires patience. It requires humility strong enough to admit that there is always something new to learn. That mindset separates emotionally mature women from emotionally reactive women. When a woman truly listens, she begins understanding people beyond surface-level behavior. She notices pain hidden behind anger, fear hidden behind arrogance, insecurity hidden behind constant attention-seeking. Wise listening allows her to see deeper than appearances, and that understanding changes the way she communicates. She stops wasting energy on unnecessary arguments. She realizes that not every misunderstanding deserves a battle. Not every criticism deserves a response. Not every opinion deserves emotional access to her peace. That restraint becomes power, because emotional discipline in conversation is rare today. Many people react instantly without thinking. They speak from anger, pride, jealousy, or wounded emotions. And once words leave the mouth, they cannot be taken back. A valuable woman understands this. That is why she learns to control her tongue before trying to control other people. She knows that maturity is revealed most clearly during moments of disagreement. Anyone can speak kindly when life feels easy, but true emotional and intelligence appears during conflict. Can she remain calm under pressure? Can she communicate without disrespect? Can she express truth without cruelty? Can she protect her peace without lowering her standards? Those abilities reveal real strength. A powerful woman also avoids gossip because she understands that conversations shape environments. Constant negativity weakens the mind and damages trust. Women who constantly speak about others eventually lose credibility themselves. But women who speak with integrity create emotional safety around them. People trust their presence because they know their words are not driven by bitterness or insecurity. And perhaps one of the most attractive qualities in a valuable woman is quiet confidence in communication. She does not need to interrupt others constantly. She does not force attention through volume. She speaks clearly, directly, and intentionally because she knows her value does not increase by speaking over people. Intimidates her. In fact, silence becomes one of her greatest strengths. Silence allows her to think before reacting. Silence allows her to observe what others miss. Silence protects her from unnecessary conflict. Many people expose their weakness through uncontrolled speech, but wise women strengthen themselves through thoughtful restraint. This is why powerful women often leave lasting impressions without saying much at all. Their energy feels grounded. Their words feel intentional. Their presence feels calming instead of chaotic. People begin respecting them differently because wisdom naturally creates influence. Over time, she realizes that communication is not about winning every conversation. It is about understanding, clarity, emotional control, and truth. She speaks in ways that uplift instead of destroy. She listens in ways that create connection instead of division. And through that balance, she develops a presence that feels rare in a world filled with noise. Because a truly powerful woman understands one important truth. The way a person speaks reveals their mindset, but the way they listen reveals the depth of their wisdom. Many women are taught to believe that saying yes makes them kind, sacrificing themselves makes them valuable, and tolerating disrespect makes them loving. So they spend years overextending themselves for people who continuously drain their energy, ignore their needs, and cross emotional lines that should never have been crossed. They remain available to everyone while slowly abandoning themselves in the process. Then one day they begin feeling exhausted, emotionally overwhelmed, and disconnected from their own peace. Not because they are weak, but because they never learned one powerful truth. Boundaries are not selfish. Boundaries are self-respect in action. A truly valuable woman understands that people treat you according to what you allow repeatedly. If disrespect is constantly tolerated, disrespect becomes normal. If manipulation is constantly excused, manipulation grows stronger. Without boundaries, even the kindest woman eventually becomes emotionally exhausted, trying to carry relationships that were never balanced to begin with. That is why boundaries matter. Boundaries teach people how to treat you. They communicate what is acceptable and what is not. They protect emotional health, mental clarity, time, energy, and peace. And contrary to what many people believe, healthy boundaries do not push away the right people. They only make unhealthy people uncomfortable. Because people who benefit from your lack of boundaries often react negatively the moment you finally create them. The moment a woman starts saying no without guilt, some people call her difficult. The moment she stops tolerating disrespect, some people call her cold. The moment she protects her peace, some people accuse her of changing. But growth always changes standards. A powerful woman no longer feels obligated to explain. In every decision she makes for her well-being, she understands that maturity is realizing you cannot continuously sacrifice your mental and emotional stability just to keep everyone comfortable. And this is where many women struggle. They confuse boundaries with rejection. They fear disappointing others. They fear being misunderstood. So they stay silent when they should speak up. They tolerate behavior that hurts them because confrontation feels uncomfortable. But avoiding discomfort today often creates deeper pain tomorrow. Every ignored boundary slowly damages self-respect. Every tolerated betrayal weakens emotional confidence. Deep down, a woman always knows when she is allowing treatment that contradicts her value. And over time, that internal conflict creates resentment, frustration, and emotional exhaustion. A valuable woman chooses differently. She understands that boundaries are not walls built to punish people. They are standards built to protect peace. They create heart. They're relationships because they remove confusion, manipulation, and emotional imbalance. People know where she stands. People know what she accepts. People know how to approach her with respect. That clarity becomes powerful. She also realizes that saying no does not make her selfish. In fact, constantly abandoning yourself to please others is not kindness. It is self-neglect disguised as loyalty. A woman cannot continuously pour into everyone else while ignoring her own emotional needs. Eventually, she becomes empty herself. Boundaries allow her to preserve her energy for what truly matters. She becomes more selective about who enters her life, more careful about where she invests emotional effort, more aware of relationships that bring peace versus relationships that constantly create chaos, because she understands that access to her energy is a privilege, not an entitlement. And perhaps the strongest boundaries are often quiet ones. She no longer argues endlessly with people committed to misunderstanding her. She no longer explains her worth to people determined to undervalue her. She no longer stays in environments that continuously damage her spirit. Instead, she walks away calmly. That calmness confuses people because society often expects powerful reactions. But emotional maturity teaches her that protecting peace is more important than winning every conflict. Silence becomes strength. Distance becomes wisdom. Detachment becomes healing. Over time, something beautiful begins happening. The more she honors her boundaries, the more she respects herself. And the more she respects herself, the less she tolerates behavior that diminishes her value. Her confidence grows stronger because her actions finally align with her worth. She no longer seeks validation through overgiving or self-sacrifice. She understands that love without respect becomes unhealthy, kindness without boundaries becomes exploitation, and loyalty without self-respect becomes self-destruction. So she stops apologizing for protecting her peace. She stops feeling guilty for choosing herself. Because deep down, she realizes one life-changing truth. Boundaries are not barriers against love. They are the foundation that allows real respect, healthy relationships, and emotional peace to survive. Many people spend their entire lives chasing validation without realizing it. They chase approval through relationships, social media attention, appearance, popularity, and constant recognition from others. Every compliment temporarily lifts them, and every criticism emotionally destroys them. Their identity becomes controlled by outside opinions because they never discovered something deeper to anchor themselves to. But a truly valuable woman moves differently. She does not spend her life begging the world to confirm her worth because purpose already gives her direction. She knows where she is going. She knows what matters to her. When a woman becomes connected to purpose, distractions lose their power over her. Purpose changes everything. Without purpose, people become easily controlled by validation. They constantly seek attention because attention feels like significance. They compare themselves endlessly because they do not have a deeper mission guiding their lives. They become emotionally dependent on being noticed because emptiness inside always searches for something outside to fill it. But purpose creates inner stability. A woman with purpose wakes up focused. Her energy is invested into growth, contribution, discipline, peace, and becoming better than she was yesterday. She does not have time to constantly perform for approval because her life is no longer centered around impressing people. It is centered around becoming the woman she was created to be. That mindset creates a completely different kind of confidence. She no longer needs constant reassurance to feel valuable. She no longer changes herself to fit every environment. She no longer abandons her standards just to feel accepted temporarily. Because purpose teaches her something powerful. The people who truly belong in her life will never require her to betray herself in order to keep them. Most people drift through life reacting emotionally to everything around them. One compliment changes their mood. One criticism ruins their confidence. One rejection makes them question their identity. Why? Because when purpose is absent, emotions become directionless. But purpose gives emotional discipline. It reminds her why she started when life becomes difficult. It helps her stay focused when distractions appear. It keeps her grounded when attention tries to inflate her ego and when criticism tries to weaken her spirit. A valuable woman understands that attention can become addictive. Validation feels good in the moment, but dependence on it slowly destroys authenticity. The more a person needs approval, the more they begin shaping their identity around what others want instead of who they truly are. That is why purpose protects authenticity. A woman driven by purpose speaks differently. She makes decisions differently. She carries herself differently because she is no longer controlled by the fear of disappointing people. She realizes that trying to please everyone eventually causes a person to lose themselves completely. And perhaps one of the strongest signs of growth is when a woman becomes comfortable being misunderstood by people who were never committed to understanding her anyway. That level of emotional maturity changes relationships. She stops chasing unavailable people for validation. She stops proving her worth to those determined to overlook it. She stops exhausting herself trying to earn love that should never require self-abandonment. Instead, she focuses her energy inward. She builds her mind. She strengthens her discipline. She develops emotional intelligence. She protects her peace. She invests into becoming aligned with her future. Because purpose creates direction, and direction eliminates unnecessary confusion. This does not mean she becomes arrogant or emotionally disconnected. It means she becomes intentional. She values genuine connection over shallow attention. She values meaningful growth over temporary popularity. She values inner fulfillment over external applause. And the beautiful thing about purpose is that it naturally attracts respect. People are drawn toward individuals who carry clarity, vision, and emotional stability. Not because they demand attention, but because grounded energy feels rare in a distracted world. A woman with purpose no longer wastes years seeking validation from people who are equally lost themselves. She understands that no amount of attention can replace self-respect, no amount of praise can replace inner peace, and no amount of approval can substitute for a mean, fulfilling life. So she continues moving forward even when nobody applauds her progress. She keeps growing privately. She keeps building quietly. She keeps honoring her standards consistently because her purpose is stronger than temporary distractions. And once a woman discovers purpose, she finally becomes free from one of the greatest traps in life, the endless need to be validated by people who never had the authority to define her worth in the first place. Anyone can remain calm when life feels easy. Anyone can appear confident when circumstances are comfortable and everything is going according to plan. But true strength is not revealed during peaceful moments. True strength is revealed during pressure, disappointment, betrayal, stress, and uncertainty. That is where emotional control becomes one of the most powerful qualities a woman can develop. A truly valuable woman understands that emotions are important, but they were never meant to control her entire life. Feelings change company, instantly. One moment there is confidence, the next moment there is fear. One moment there is peace, the next moment there is frustration. If she allows every emotion to dictate her decisions, her life becomes unstable and reactive. That is why emotional control matters. It gives her the ability to remain grounded when chaos surrounds her. It allows her to think clearly instead of reacting impulsively. It protects her from making temporary emotional decisions that create permanent consequences. Most people confuse emotional control with emotional suppression. They believe being emotionally strong means pretending not to feel pain. But emotional intelligence is not about denying emotions. It is about understanding them without becoming controlled by them. A powerful woman still feels anger. She still feels disappointment. She still feels sadness and frustration. But she does not allow those emotions to destroy her judgment. That difference changes everything. Because difficult moments reveal emotional maturity faster than easy moments ever could. Anyone can speak kindly when they are happy. Anyone can appear patient when life feels smooth. But how a person behaves under stress reveals the true condition of their character. A valuable woman understands this deeply. That is why she learns to pause before reacting emotionally. She knows that words spoken in anger can destroy trust in seconds. She knows that impulsive reactions often create regret. She knows that emotional discipline protects both peace and dignity. And this is where many people lose control of their lives. They react instantly to criticism, conflict, rejection, and frustration without thinking clearly. They allow temporary emotions to dictate permanent decisions. One emotional moment damages relationships, careers, opportunities, and self-respect. But emotional control creates stability. It allows a woman to respond instead of react, to observe instead of explode, to this, NK instead of panic, to remain composed while others lose control around her. That calmness becomes strength. Because emotionally grounded women are difficult to manipulate. People cannot easily provoke them into chaos. Criticism does not instantly destroy their confidence. Pressure does not immediately break their focus. They develop inner balance, and that balance creates power. A woman with emotional control also understands the importance of silence during difficult moments. She no longer feels the need to explain herself to everyone immediately. She no longer reacts to every insult or disagreement. She realizes that protecting peace is often wiser than proving a point. That emotional restraint saves her from unnecessary battles. Not every comment deserves a response. Not every misunderstanding deserves emotional energy. Not every conflict deserves access to her peace. And over time, that self-control strengthens her confidence because she begins trusting her ability to have NDELE adversity without collapsing emotionally. Life will test every woman eventually. There will be betrayal. There will be disappointment. There will be failure, rejection, stress, and painful seasons that feel unfair. But emotional control allows her to survive those moments without losing herself in the process. Instead of becoming bitter, she becomes wiser. Instead of becoming reckless, she becomes more intentional. Instead of allowing pain to harden her heart completely, she learns from it without letting it define her identity. This does not happen overnight. Emotional strength is built through experience, through healing, through difficult lessons, through moments where she wanted to react emotionally but chose maturity instead. Every difficult season teaches her greater self-awareness, and perhaps the greatest benefit of emotional control is clarity. Strong emotions often cloud judgment. Anger distorts perspective. Fear weakens decision-making. Insecurity creates unnecessary reactions. But emotional discipline allows a woman to see situations clearly even during pressure. That clarity protects her future. She chooses her words carefully. She protects her dignity during conflict. She remains calm under stress. She refuses to allow temporary emotions to destroy long-term peace. And eventually, people begin noticing something different about her presence. She feels stable, grounded, difficult to shake emotionally. While others constantly react to every problem around them, she carries quiet strength within herself. Because a truly powerful woman understands one life-changing truth. The ability to control emotions during difficult moments is not weakness, silence, or passiveness. It is one of the highest forms of strength a person can ever develop. A truly valuable woman does not inspire people only through words. She inspires them through the way she lives, through the standards she keeps when nobody is watching, through the promises she honors even when life becomes difficult. Because real influence is never built on appearance alone. It is built on consistency, integrity, and character repeated over time. Anyone can appear impressive for a moment. Anyone can create an image that looks successful, confident, or disciplined temporarily. But character is revealed slowly. It appears in daily habits, difficult decisions, private behavior, and the way someone treats others when there is nothing to gain in return. That is why valuable women leave a lasting impact. Not because they seek attention constantly, but because their actions consistently match their values. Consistency is rare today. Many people begin with excitement but disappear when effort becomes uncomfortable. They speak about goals but abandon them quickly. They promise loyalty but change when circumstances shift. They present one version of themselves publicly and another privately. But a woman of character remains grounded regardless. Essentially, the environment around her, she continues showing up even when motivation fades. She remains kind without becoming weak. She stays disciplined even when results are delayed. She protects her standards even when compromise would feel easier. That consistency creates trust. People naturally respect individuals who remain dependable during both success and struggle. Because consistency proves authenticity. It proves that someone's behavior is not temporary performance for approval. It reveals stability, maturity, and self-respect. A valuable woman also understands the power of integrity. Integrity means doing what is right even when nobody is watching. It means staying honest when dishonesty would create shortcuts. It means remaining loyal to personal values even under pressure. And that type of strength is becoming increasingly rare. The world often rewards appearances before character. People are praised for looking successful long before they develop emotional maturity, wisdom, or discipline internally, but appearances cannot sustain respect forever. Eventually, truth reveals itself through behavior. That is why integrity matters more than image. A woman with integrity does not manipulate people for personal advantage. She does not betray her principles to gain temporary validation. She does not pretend to be someone else just to fit into environments that contradict her values. Instead, she remains authentic. That authenticity inspires people deeply because genuine character feels rare in a world filled with performance. People may admire beauty or success temporarily, but they trust integrity. They remember the woman whose actions matched her words, the woman who remained respectful during conflict, The woman who stayed honest, even when lying would have been easier. Character creates lasting influence, and perhaps the most powerful part of strong character is how quietly it affects others. Valuable women often inspire without even realizing it. Their discipline motivates others to become more focused. Their calmness encourages others to become emotionally stronger. Their standards challenge people to stop settling for less because energy spreads. The woman who carries integrity into every environment changes the atmosphere around her. People feel safer around honesty. They feel calmer around emotional maturity. They feel inspired around discipline and self-respect. Strong character naturally raises the standard of every room she enters. A valuable woman also understands that character is built during difficult seasons, not easy ones. Adversity reveals integrity quickly. Anyone can behave well when life is comfortable, but pain, pressure, disappointment, and struggle expose what truly exists within a person. That is why challenges strengthen valuable women instead of destroying them completely. Hard seasons teach patience, failure teaches humility, pain teaches wisdom, responsibility teaches discipline. Over time, those experiences shape depth within her. She becomes less reactive, more intentional, more compassionate, and emotionally stronger because life forced her to grow beyond superficial thinking. And unlike people obsessed with image, she no longer seeks perfection. She understands that real character is not about pretending to never make mistakes. It is about accountability, growth, honesty, and the willingness to improve continuously. That mindset creates powerful influence because people connect more deeply with authenticity than perfection. Eventually, her life itself becomes the message. She no longer needs to constantly convince others of her value because her behavior speaks clearly enough. The way she handles pressure, the way she treats people, the way she remains disciplined privately, the way she protects her integrity during temptation, all of it reveals who she truly is. And in a world filled with inconsistency, shallow validation, and temporary appearances, woman who lives with consistency, integrity, and strong character becomes unforgettable. Because true inspiration is never created through loud words alone. It is created through a life that quietly demonstrates strength, honesty, discipline, and self-respect every single day. The world has spent years teaching women that beauty is mostly external. Appearance, makeup, fashion, attention, and physical perfection are constantly presented as the highest forms of value. Everywhere a woman looks, she is told that her worth becomes greater if she looks a certain way, dresses a certain way, or gains enough admiration from others. And slowly, many women begin believing that beauty is something fragile that exists only on the surface. But a truly valuable woman eventually realizes something deeper. Real beauty is not revealed only through appearance. It is revealed through mindset, habits, standards, energy, and the way she carries herself through life. Because external beauty may attract attention, but inner beauty determines the quality of a woman's presence. A beautiful face may capture eyes temporarily, but character captures respect. Discipline creates elegance. Emotional maturity creates peace. Confidence creates attraction. Wisdom creates depth. These are the qualities that remain unforgettable long after physical appearance changes with time. A valuable woman understands this clearly. That is why she invests as much into her mind as she does into her appearance. She knows that beauty without self-respect eventually loses its power. Attention without substance becomes empty, and charm without character eventually fades when life becomes difficult. Mindset changes everything. The way a woman thinks shapes the way she speaks, reacts, loves, grows, and handles adversity. A negative mindset filled with jealousy, insecurity, bitterness, and constant comparison slowly destroys peace from within. No amount of external beauty can hide emotional chaos forever, but a healthy mindset transforms energy completely. A woman who thinks with confidence carries herself differently. A woman who thinks with gratitude radiates peace differently. A woman who thinks with discipline lives differently. A woman who values growth becomes emotionally stronger over time. That inner transformation naturally affects outward presence. Habits matter just as much. Most people underestimate how daily habits shape beauty. Discipline in sleep, health, emotional control, self-care, learning, and personal growth creates a glow that cannot be purchased artificially. Consistent habits affect posture, confidence, emotional stability, and energy. Over time, habits either strengthen a woman or slowly weaken her from within. A valuable woman pays attention to what she feeds her mind daily. She understands that constant negativity, drama, unhealthy relationships, and destructive environments eventually show themselves emotionally and physically. Peaceful habits create peaceful energy. Disciplined habits create powerful confidence, and standards reveal self-worth. A woman's standards determine what she tolerates, accepts, and allows into her life. Low standards often lead to emotional exhaustion, disrespect, unhealthy relationships, and constant disappointment. But high standards protect peace, dignity, and long-term happiness. That is why valuable women stop chasing temporary validation. They stop lowering themselves for attention. They stop sacrificing self-respect just to feel chosen, because they understand that real beauty is deeply connected to the way a woman values herself internally. Self-respect changes presence. A woman with standards speaks differently. She walks away from disrespect differently. She chooses relationships differently. She protects her energy differently because she understands her worth is not something to negotiate. And perhaps the most attractive quality in a valuable woman is authenticity. She no longer tries to become a copy of everyone else. She becomes comfortable with her own identity, her own voice, and her own growth journey. That authenticity creates confidence, and confidence naturally creates beauty that feels real instead of performative. The world often pressures women to compete constantly, compare constantly, and seek approval endlessly. But comparison quietly destroys individuality. A valuable woman stops measuring her worth against other people because she understands that beauty is not a competition. True beauty expands when a woman becomes fully aligned with who she truly is. That alignment creates peace, and peace changes everything about a person's presence. Calm energy feels attractive. Emotional maturity feels attractive. Integrity feels attractive. A woman who knows herself deeply no longer needs to force attention because grounded confidence naturally draws respect toward her. Over time, she realizes something powerful. Physical beauty may open doors temporarily, but mindset, habits, and standards determine the life she experiences after those doors open. Without discipline, beauty becomes fragile. Without character, beauty becomes shallow. Without emotional intelligence, beauty loses depth. So she continues investing inwardly. She strengthens her mindset. She protects her habits. She raises her standards. She grows emotionally, mentally, and spiritually because she understands one important truth. Real beauty is never limited to appearance alone. It is revealed through the quality of a woman's thoughts, the discipline of her habits, the strength of her standards, and the peaceful confidence she carries into every room she enters.